Five, three, two, one. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Stephanie Stevens Show and Pronoun TV Season 2. We made it, guys. We made it, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for sharing the love, embracing the channel, and it's our world is fascinating, and it's about time that our stories are told. So we want to say welcome to Pronoun TV and the Stephanie Stevens Show. And I am blessed to be interviewing so many of the wonderful entertainers around the world, wonderful community members, and people that, are a part of our everyday lives. So today I invited a young woman on who had a trans woman who had been in prison. And I'll let her explain her situation. Today, I want to introduce Miss Paula Mosley from New Orleans. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay,
Hello,
did I get
everyone.
your name right? Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this, Paula, for the show. And hopefully we can educate and inspire some other people about your journey and about your experiences. Now, let's get this out of the way first. What are your pronouns?
My pronouns are she, hers.
Okay. Now, so you were born in New Orleans.
Yes, born and raised.
Okay. Now, have you, how long have you been transitioning?
Uh, I'm over the age of 45. I've been transitioning since I was 19 years old.
Okay. Now, we know, in the States, we do a lot of different things to try to transition real quick, like silicone, go to those kitchen doctors. You know what we do to try to, make ourselves look beautiful real quick for opportunity of whatever source we're trying to, our hustle is. Now, have you ever been to a kitchen doctor?
Yes, I have. I've had the lower part of my body injected with silicone.
Okay. Now, a lot of the girls now are going to see doctors, and the doctors are trying to help them remove some of the silicone that maybe has caused cancer or causing them sort of mobility issues and stuff like that. A good friend of mine, Tanisha Cassidy, she died from that. And
I know Tanisha.
oh, you knew Tanisha. Oh, she's an
Yes, I
amazing
did.
person. She did a lot for
Beautiful.
me. She came to Canada a lot to help me. And so I take my wig off to her every time because she helped me do a lot of what I needed to do while I was here in Canada, and also help educate the girls about hormones. You know me, I'm gonna be honest, I'm very blessed and lucky. I never went to the kitchen doctors. Now I am in a few weeks going to have some fillers done, but by a regular doctor. But overall, I am just so glad that girls are getting brave now to talk about going to these places for desperate, measures to these quick fixes, because there's no doctors, there's no nurses, there's nobody around they can talk to about how they feel about looking aesthetically like a woman, which is very important to trans women.
Yes.
And now let's talk about the silicone for just 1 minute. I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but she wanted me to stop. How does she say pussyfooting around? She says, I've been pussyfooting around the questions. So for me to be more direct, have you had any real health issues with the silicone?
Fortunately for me, thank God that no, I haven't had any issues or problems.
Okay. Now, so like I said, it's a great thing. I watched the show Botched, and those two doctors there are trying to help a lot of the trans women get their bodies and their faces back to normal. And I take my wig off to them too for doing that, because we are now making strides. People are starting to be more sympathetic towards the trans community, even though we have a long way to go. Now, I want to talk about one more thing, and then we're going to get into your story. Now, in Toronto, the Pride Parade, the Pride Committee and a few different, I'm not going to say militant groups because then they'll be screaming and yelling and saying all kinds of crazy things to me. Certain groups of people have decided that the police should not be in a pride parade. What are your thoughts on that?
What is the reason for them not wanting to be there? To cause disruption? I mean, I'm sure that the spectators and the ongoers would want, to be protected, to feel safe. If that's the reason for the police being there, then yes, I would agree with that. But if it's there to cause disruption or to upset or to interrupt the parade, then no, I don't think they should be there.
Okay, so the reason I asked you that is because I am a strong advocate of the police being in any mass gathering, just in case if something jumps off. And and so I just want to know your take on that. So thank you. Now, I want to talk about your family. Now, are you your mother, your father, everybody still alive?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I heard something amazing that you said, that your parents were very supportive of you. And sometimes in the Black community, even though they know we're different, they don't want to acknowledge it and say it, but they hint or they know it. And then when they get mad at you, they just blurt it out.
Yeah.
But how is it that your family became so supportive?
Well, growing up as a child, I was always overtly feminine. I've never, even as a young child, as far as I can remember, I've never attached myself to males as far as like playing company, like having friends, close friends. I was always more attracted to females and the feminine aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I was never ridiculed or punished for doing certain things or being a certain way or acting a certain way as a child. I was always loved and just accepted for the person that I am. I was never put a label on it.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was the experience? What was the first experience like when you told your mother and father, um, I don't think I'm gay, I'm trans?
I've never had that discussion.
Oh,
So I've
okay.
never had a discussion. I went through the phase of well, I was like I said, I was always overtly feminine. I guess I was like a gay boy. And the more that I got I guess educated on the lifestyle, or the more that I started realizing that I was different and not, well, I never did try to hide it, okay, but the more that I started realizing I was different, I got into more things. I started dressing more feminine. I would started wearing like female blouses or what have you. And
Mm-hmm.
then I started going to, once I graduated high school, I started going to beauty college and I started experimenting like with different hair and things. And I started wearing like hair in my head, but I was like still have like male clothes, but maybe like a little feminine sandal or like a little blouse. And I was never well, the first time my mom saw it, she was like, wow, but like I said, I was going to hair school. So I guess maybe she thought I was like experimenting, I don't know. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, she knew that I was feminine.
Well,
But
I
it
was
was
going to ask you, that. What was the first reaction from your parents when they saw you fully done up? I'm not going to say going through it because they understood going through it. But when you actually took the first courages and you had your wig on and all your makeup and your clothes and you stepped in there, what was their first reaction?
there wasn't really a reaction because it wasn't like something that was done all at once. It was like
Oh,
a progression of things. Like I said, I was started growing my hair out. Then maybe I would come inside my eyebrow would be arched, and maybe like a month later or something, I would have nails. It was like a process. And as the days and the time went on, it started getting more and more eccentric. So it was
mm-hmm.
never like I just stepped inside one day fully done. It was like, oh my God, what is it? It was like a slow process of easing it in.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started transitioning, taking hormonal therapy, I had already moved away. I was on my
Oh.
own. So I was already like independent. During the time when I started transitioning, I was on my own. I was an adult. So it wasn't really, I didn't seek or ask for their approval for me transitioning.
Mhm.
And I would have to say, during the time when I first started my hormonal therapy, I didn't see my mom for like a year. But
Wow.
she knew what was going on because we have a close-knit family. Like my brothers and sisters, they would always come to my house on the weekend to visit. And I would do hair at home. My brothers and sisters would stop over, and I'm sure they would go back and tell mom, oh my God, this is going on and
Mhm.
something, but she would never say anything. And a year had passed, and she wanted to get her hair done. And
Mhm.
my sister brought her over there to get her hair done. And I guess she saw me like with, and I
Oh.
wanted to let her know for herself that something was going on there. So of course I wore like a
Mhm.
top that was complementing to the breast so she could see. But there was never anything said about it. But my sister did bring up the comment when she was talking. She was like, well, um, Paula was never attracted to guys, right, Mom? And she was like, no, never was. And that was like,
Mhm. I want to say this, talking to you, I would never know. I would never know. And I want to say this here because I see a lot of this on social media now about Black women and trans women, and the real animosity that a lot of Black women have towards trans women, whether or not they think trans women like J.K.L. Rowland, they all think that these trans women have run off with their man, or they've been messing around with their husbands, all these kind of, or their boyfriends, these foolish things. And they seem to have a real hatred for trans women because of that. Not necessarily because of you being a trans woman, but because they must. I asked this one woman, I have an interview coming up with a Black woman, with a Black lady, talking about the hatred that she has for trans women, because even she doesn't recognize trans women as women. She recognizes them more as the fact that they're still men. And I think because our conversation was about the fact that her man left her for a trans woman, she was hurt. And I could see that. So I really try not to push too much. But the interview is coming up in September. You can watch it. And it was quite interesting. It was a really an emotional kind of a thing. So I tried to be careful with her because she was really upset. But for us in general, and you, it's great that your family was supporting you. It was great that they noticed the changes. It was great that you were actually communicating. And I think
very
that
fortunate.
yeah, that is something that's really important in any community, in any of us going through anything. If we communicate, we have better chance of getting the conversation started and getting some, results, hopefully figuring out what's going to happen, you know, what we're going to do with Paula, what's happening with Paula.
Yeah,
This
and
is
I think that the way that my family love and respects me and support me has helped me in society because I feel as long as I have the love, respect, and support of my family, I don't really care what anybody else thinks.
wonderful.
Their opinion
Now,
really doesn't matter.
that's wonderful. And we needed to do this for a long time, to not care what people were thinking about us. But we're so consumed with imagery and looking aesthetically certain ways that we can just try to fit in. So it makes our problems seem like they can just go away if we just fit into society. That's never going to happen unless we have a straight out revolution. But we can talk all day. But the fact that me and you are talking here is progress. This is progress. And hopefully somewhere along the line, we will educate people about, sometimes maybe people should mind their own business. And two, maybe people should be a little bit more understanding and compassionate and listen. Now, I want to.
and educate themselves. And they need to educate themselves on things that they don't know
That's
about.
true. That is so true. Now, let's talk about your jail time. Now, I don't want to get into a long history of what happened, but when you were talking about your treatment in jail. Now, if you don't mind, can I ask, what were you in jail for?
Um, well, the charge that I was in jail for was simple robbery, and I had aggravated battery charge. The simple robbery derived from me stealing someone's wallet and using their stolen credit cards.
Okay.
And the aggravated battery came from when I was trying to escape the security that was stopping me. I sprayed him with mace. The mace was considered as a weapon, which led to the aggravated battery charge.
Okay. Now, what was the outcome from the judge? What was the outcome?
I was sentenced. I've been dealing with the case for like over a year, but
Mhm.
in the end, I was sentenced to 3 years in the Department of Corrections, Louisiana State Department of Corrections.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask this because I just think that it's just better for me just to be straight out and open and honest. Now, when they first frisked you, and it's the way you look, the policemen and the security guards probably thought you were a woman.
Yeah.
So what happened in the dressing area when they said you have to put this orange suit on, a blue suit, or whatever it is, you have to put this on, and there's a female security guard or policeman there while you change into correctional clothing.
Well, when I
What?
changed out, they didn't actually see me change. I go into like a little a little cubby hole,
Oh,
like a bathroom stall without a toilet. I guess like a dressing room area to
yeah.
change out. So they never actually saw me with my clothes up. But upon me the processing of processing into their custody, that's when it was
Mhm.
discovered.
Oh, okay. Now, when you were in front of the judge, did the judge know you were male?
He knew that I was transgender, but they respected me and they addressed me as Miss and called me Paula.
Oh, okay. Now, once you got into the prison system, were you in the prison system with men or
Yeah.
trans women?
I was in the prison system with men, homosexuals, and there was one other trans woman, but she didn't have the level of enhancements that I've had
Mhm.
because I've had like surgical procedures or what have you. She was only taking hormone therapy, and she's been in jail for like 13, 14 years. So she hasn't had any hormone medication since during that time she's been in prison. So you know if that works. You know, even if
Yeah.
a post-op
Mhm.
or pre-op, hormones are something that you have to take for the entirety of your life.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, things happen. But now, when you were in there, the reason because I this is going to be good because I'm loving it so far. I mean, I'm trying to ask what I think our audience will be interested in hearing. Now, once you were in there and you were walking around, what did the men think?
Um, well, prior to me getting in a general population, like living amongst everyone else, I was
Mm-hmm.
still going through the intake and processing part of things. So I
Mm-hmm.
was placed in a cell, which is like the equivalent of a bathroom, a small bathroom in someone's home, for my by myself for like about 2 weeks. And the cell part is like in another area of the prison.
Oh,
But
okay.
the word had got out in general population that I was there. You know, someone of my was there because like the inmates are the workers, the ones that are feeding the food, that's cleaning up the area or what have you. So it had already gotten out that I was there.
Okay. Now, what did the warden, the man who runs the prison, what did he think they should be doing with you? Or did he just think of you as just a regular, as a criminal?
Well, the law, any homosexual transgender inmate, you can't like segregate them. It's against the law to like segregate them and just put them off somewhere by themselves because they have to have the same things accessible as the entire facility, like as the regular inmates. You can't treat them different.
Okay.
You have to treat everyone the same. So the same privileges that they get, I have to receive as well. There are different classes that they allow inmates to participate in that would shorten their time there.
Mm-hmm.
That same thing. You know, I have to be able to receive all the amenities that everyone else had.
Okay. Did you spend your full 3 years in prison?
Yes, I did.
Oh, so they didn't give you any leniency.
No, I did.
Now, when you were in prison, did you did you have any altercation with the men?
Yes, I did. Um, I've had like few minor arguments,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for as far as like them disrespecting me or saying things out of the way. You know, I defended myself. I had to stand up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of my sentence, during towards the very end of my sentence, I did actually get into one physical altercation.
Okay. Now, did you ever fear for your safety? I mean, like, because I mean,
All the time, all the time.
because
All the
I'm
time. It was
sure
always
because
in the
the
back
way.
of my mind that I'm worried that something would happen to me. And I honestly, like saying here now, it was always, I kept thinking to myself, I just feel like I'm going to end up getting into something with someone like before I go home. Because like
Mhm.
I had the protection of the warden. They couldn't really do me anything. They were in fear to do me anything because they didn't want to, you know, feel her wrath.
Mhm.
So everyone about that was like really kept at bay. Even like some of the guards, the female guards and the male guards, they would pick on me and just harass me for no reason or what have you. But it was never anything like really serious because they would have to deal with the warden as well. You
Okay.
know.
So I mean, with you being under 24-hour surveillance with the cameras there, I'm sure the warden can see what's happening in the prison and what's happening. I'm sure they didn't just put you in there and didn't check on you from time to
No,
time
because
because
there
I'm
are
sure.
guards that are posted like in the dorm area where you know you sleep. There's 24-hour watch. Someone's always there. You're not just put in this big room by yourself and there's no one to watch you. There's
Oh,
always
okay.
someone there, you know.
Well, it was good to see that you survived all of that. I mean, I say this to even me and my sister, we laugh about it to this day.
Because there were many injustices that I faced while being transgender inside of an all-male facility. It was a
Mhm.
lot.
What do you think needs to change in the jail system for trans women or people that identify under certain pronouns pertaining to trans women or, going in the transition phase, whether they're trans men or trans women?
Well, first and foremost, I think that everyone needs to be respected for their own individual selves and be respected for whom they choose to identify themselves as. Um, as far as trans people, there are certain things that we're not looking for special favoritism, but being trans, there are certain things that we require as far as like hormone therapy and what have you, and all that. I don't think those things should be denied because that is essential to our survival, to our
Mhm.
well-being. And a lot of institutions don't offer hormone therapy to trans inmates, even if they were legally receiving those prescriptions for that medication on the street. Once you're in prison, well, some of them won't allow
Mhm.
you to continue with your hormone therapy. And I think that's very unfair.
Well, I'm surprised that the advocates for trans women and the LGBT community hasn't stepped in to make sure that that happens. As you
That's what
know,
I think for me and some other trans women who I've spoken with that have been incarcerated, I think maybe they're need to be a specific organization or something designed to help trans inmates that are incarcerated. They need someone to advocate and fight for them. There needs to be some type of
Mhm,
organization, something like that, specifically designed to help trans inmates.
mhm. I think that
It is
that
a
is
very serious problem. I'm speaking from experience. It is very, there are so many things that I haven't talked about
mhm.
and I probably won't talk about, but it's really hard. I mean, you can imagine a trans woman living in a men's facility.
I can
You know,
imagine that.
there are homosexual inmates there also. They go through their own things being homosexual, as far as like being considered as um prey to the predators or what
Mhm,
have you, but it's a whole nother level when it comes to a transgender inmate. Because you have to realize that there are men there that haven't been in the company of women for years. And when a
mhm,
trans comes, you know, they look at you as for the inmates like something that haven't been around. I haven't seen breasts or I haven't
mhm,
seen, you know, a female shape in years. So
mhm.
it's a lot.
I know. Now, I was watching a lot of the girls. I watched a couple of the videos in Los Angeles where the girls, where they have a sort of a separate area there in at LA jail or whatever it is there for the trans women and the people who are sort of marginalized in whatever sense. Um, um, and I noticed that a lot of the girls were more vulnerable in prison than they were when they were out of prison. Because
Yeah,
now,
that's mainly because like if let's say if you're on the street and you go through certain things, you find yourself in a certain situation, if you don't feel comfortable or maybe that's just not the place for you, you have the choice to get up and leave. If you face certain problems and situations in prison, you can't like just get up and walk out of the prison. You have to deal with it.
mhm. Now, did you have a boyfriend in prison?
Uh, there were, I have to be honest, there were people, I'm a female at heart. I'm female
Mhm,
inside and out. So, I mean, I was there for 3 years. So there were men that I found
mhm,
myself attracted to, but because of the stance that the warden had specifically for me. Like I said, they had another transgender. She's been there for like 14, 15 years, but she hasn't had my enhancements. So I guess
mhm,
I was kind of like a special case, I would say. So she was really
mhm,
like into me and she had the fear of God in them. Like no one is to call. It was, she didn't really approve of me talking to other homosexual inmates. You know, it
mhm,
wasn't really getting close. And that would kind of bug me because, like I said, I'm human. I'm there for 3 years. You didn't expect me, you can't expect me not to talk to anybody. And
mhm,
I had that, honestly, I had that mindset when I first got there. I'm like, oh, I'm in this with all these men. I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm going to stay to myself. That's impossible. You
mhm,
can't say that. So, unfortunately, no, I didn't have a boyfriend because of the one, but there were guys that I was like, and I will conversate with them, but if they like sit around me for a little too long, or if like the guards would notice that maybe we were getting a little bit too comfortable talking to each other. They were like, "Oh no, you've been there long enough. You have to leave." So I was like, kind of off limits. And that would
mhm,
kind of bother me. I mean, it's not that I was trying to do something illegal or anything sexual with them. It was just a conversation, and it kind of bothered me because I'm like, you're making me feel like if something's wrong with me, like if I'm incapable of having conversations. I'm sitting here. We could be talking about anything, music or television, or maybe something about their families and you just interrupt the conversation, like, no, you can't talk, get over there, as if I'm an alien or something. But like a couple of yards away, there was like a homosexual
mhm.
talking to a
Now,
guy, and maybe it's a known fact that they're in a relationship and they're talking and they're close together, but you're not telling them anything, but you're telling me that I can't like talk to some it was
mm, well, I mean, relationships in prison probably could be something that would create a real problem
I
for
think it will.
the
And then at the
warden.
same time, speaking from experience, if just speaking from experience in being inside the prison, for those who choose to live an alternative lifestyle. If it's a known fact that you're in a relationship with someone and that someone has a certain level of respect in the prison, it kind of
Mhm,
keeps everyone else from, I'm not going to bother her because that person like is conversating with such and such, and it kind of keeps everyone else away. Versus if
Mhm.
you're there by yourself, you don't have anyone to say, well, this is my friend, we're together, like back off or whatever. So there's no one there to like protect you or, so
Okay.
it
Now,
has.
okay, I'm gonna ask you this. Now, the girl you say that was in there for 14 years, what was she in there for? That's a
I'm not,
long time.
yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was maybe a sex offense or something involving a minor. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Now, were you ever involved with this other trans woman? Were
We
you ever
talk
into it?
like during the daytime when like everyone can come outside of their dorms. We would talk and have a little girly time. I would tell her certain things that were going on out in the world. Because she's been gone for like 14 years, telling her like the different changes in the world. And um, I work as a professional female impersonator, so I travel all around the United States performing and entertaining. So there were certain people that maybe she know of and haven't seen in a long time, and we were asked about, do you know everyone like you said, Tanisha Cassidy, Tanisha
Yeah.
Cassidy is famous. She was like, do you know Katisha? I had to inform her that Tanisha Cassidy was no longer here with us. So yeah, we had times where we were able to sit and talk.
Oh, okay. It's wonderful. You put a little bit of enlightenment in me. You educated me a lot. I mean, I could ask a billion questions about prison, but I'm sure our audience wants to hear this one particular question because I think that it's relevant. Now, as an adult and consenting adult, were you ever able to have sex in prison?
I personally was not, but of
Okay.
course I've seen it, you know, that they were having sex in prison. Because the way they were watching me, they weren't like watching everyone else. Certain else were able to get away with certain things, like
Mhm.
go in the bathroom or whatever. But I personally, when it was time for me to go in the bathroom and shower, they would shut it down. No one was to be allowed in the bathroom. But usually, like those who are involved in relationships, the shower is like an open area. There's like 8, 9 shower heads. So like the guys get in there at one time. But if it's someone in a relationship, it's like usually those two. So it's like,
Oh, okay.
and they would
Now,
have certain areas that weren't, where the cameras could see you, where they would like go and, do certain things.
oh, okay. Now, I want to say, Paula, it was great talking to you. You enlightened me on a lot of things today. Now, in closing, what's happening with you now in the pandemic and you working, going back to working in the shows?
Well, I also have a part-time job now. I'm working in a pizza parlor. I'm a prep
Oh,
cook. But yeah,
girl's got to do
just
what
to
she's
have
got to
something
do.
legal on the side, yeah. But like as far as the shows and the pageant, right now in New Orleans, it's not fully shut down, but you have to present a vaccination card or what have you, and of course you're back to wearing your mask or whatever. But
Mhm.
it's still, but I think the crowd hasn't. A lot of people are in fear of like being out, so the crowd isn't what usually is. So if the crowd isn't there, the tips really isn't there, and
Mhm. And
so
it's
it's
the
like
excitement
we're
and all that.
holding on, we're holding on.
I know drag is this virtual thing. They trust me when I first started
Yeah, it's
doing.
crazy. Not to cut you off, but even now, I'm preparing to compete in a pageant, which is in Memphis in February. But I don't even know if I should go ahead and continue with my preparations because of the way things is going with COVID. I don't know if it's going to be another shutdown and the pageant will be postponed or put off because they haven't had the
Mhm.
pageant in like 3 years.
I know it's very strange doing
No,
these
two
shows
two
in
years.
front of
2
these
years.
cameras.
Sorry.
Huh?
Yeah, I have to correct myself. They haven't had the pageant in going on 2 years
Oh,
because of
yeah.
the pandemic.
It's very strange sitting in front of a camera and trying to sell something that you
Yeah,
audience going
there's
up,
no
screaming,
crowd you can
yelling.
interact with. You can feed off the audience because it's on camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're sitting here talking to the camera like it's somebody's gonna reach back and say something. It's quite hilarious. And for our pride here, I did like about 12 shows. After about the sixth one, I got used to being in front of the camera and realizing that there's 100 people on this screen or more watching this show, and they're like this here, and I'm like, this is not the tea.
Weird, right?
And you miss that accolade,
Yeah.
like you say, the tips and the
Yes, it was
fact
like
that.
if you're an entertainer, you feed off the energy from the crowd.
And we missed that, and hopefully we'll get back to that. But I'm gonna say this to you, Paula. Me and you, and a lot of the other entertainers, we are lucky that we had our times before.
Yeah.
We're lucky, and we're lucky that we're still here. Because in the next 10 to 12 years, the kids are gonna have to try to get over all of this.
Yeah.
That meaning that they will never experience the drag like we know it to really be.
Yeah.
And that is hopefully the new order, or the millennials, or whatever they're calling these kids now. Hopefully they will, do something with whatever this is.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you today for coming on. You explained a lot to us, Miss Paula from
Thank you for having me.
A fabulous trans woman who had certain circumstances throughout her life that I thought we should talk about: jail, family, inclusion, the mere fact of what needs to change and where she is now and what she's doing. And sometimes, Paula, working in the pizza parlor is not all bad. I do something 3 days a week now. The government gave me a little job 3 days a week. It's an official kind of thing, so I can't talk about it much, but I have to walk around. But for 3 days a week, and just sort of, you know how it is, keep my eye abreast of what's going on, and then type back to them at night. You know what I mean? So I have to work. So I'm blessed that I even have that little part-time job from them. It's a contract thing for like 7 months, but at least I know I have income coming in.
Nobody but God.
That's right. So I just want to say thank you, Paula Mosley from New Orleans.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you to Paula Mosley today. She enlightened us a lot about what trans women go through on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes what trans women have to resort to sort of make a living. And sometimes we make bad decisions, or decisions we think that will benefit us or help us along, or sometimes things that are just necessary because we need to survive regardless, and we think about the consequences afterwards. So Paula enlightened us a lot today about her journey as a trans woman in the prison system, how she's been treated, around the world, and in life in general, with a supportive family, that you can do anything. And with the blessings of God and supporters and these changing times, she's blessed. So I just want to say thank you to Paula Mosley. And on that note, we're going to say good night to everybody out there. Thank you guys so much for supporting Pronoun TV and the Stephanie Stevens Show Season 2. It's going to be exciting. And thank you, Paula.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Nah.